I grew up in Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the kind of setting that I grew up in had a real kind of, in the country feeling. There were ponds and there were streams and there were places to go catch tadpoles and things like that. I had some interest in art as a child, and I was a pretty good drawer in elementary school. And I didn't take art in high school. But when I went to college, what I discovered was that there were very many students that had committed themselves to art as high school students, and they showed up as freshmen at the University of Michigan with these drawing skills, which I took to be innate. And so I was intimidated by their skills, how well they could draw. So I pretty quickly found myself attracted to sculpture. So I graduated around the mid-70s with my degrees in sculpture, and made sculpture and had some shows in New York City, and things were really, looking fine. At the same time, winter had set in, and my studio that I had to make sculpture was almost impossible to heat in the winter. At some point I said, this is crazy, I can't make stuff here, and I decided I would spend my time at night making something in my apartment. So I started drawing pictures. My wife at that point was an elementary school art teacher, and she was looking at my drawings. She said, you should think about thinking about me. Could these be illustrations? So she took a portfolio of drawings up to Boston to Houghton Mifflin Company. And the editor there liked them very much. And so I started working on a little story, The Garden of Abdul Gazazi. It was of a boy chasing a dog through a topiary garden. And the fact was, once I delivered the book, I'd actually gone back to my sculpture again. I thought that first book was just a little whimsy, a lark. They'd print 10,000, they'd sell 2, and I'd have 8,000 remainder that I could buy for, $1 a book. And I would have Christmas presents for eternity. But they sold them all. And many, 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 many more. I get a lot of mail from kids, and I would say that's probably the number one question: where do ideas come from? Ideas come from every place. And the simplest example of where ideas come from: I was once in my kitchen and I saw 2 ants on the countertop, and I was pondering what a journey that was for them. That ended up being the inspiration for Two Bad Ants. The story that actually grew out of that is a story about making a bad trade. The ants basically trade sugar for their life in the ant hole. So you actually have 2 things there. You have one, which is the stimulation to tell the story about 2 ants, which was just the result of, seeing the 2 ants on my countertop. But then you have the other story, which is the story inside the story, which grows out of values that I have as a person. In Polar Express, I saw in my mind's eye a train, and it was stopped on the tracks because it was cold and it was snowy. The steam that was coming out of it was just creating a kind of like a cloud around this train, but you could still see it, and you could still see that there were lights on in the cars. And then as I thought about this train, I was struck with the idea of a train that was all-powerful, a train that could go anywhere. But the odd thing with the Polar Express is that it felt more like a recovered dream, a recovered memory. Because suddenly I didn't have to wonder what happened. I knew what happened. I knew exactly what happened. I got up there and I saw what I saw. And I came home and I believed in what I saw.
I believe.
Kids have a tendency to rely very heavily on the things they're exposed to, what they've seen on television, or what they've seen in a movie. And I try to encourage kids when they start to write about things that actually happen to them. And then if they want to fantasize about it in a way, that's okay, but I try to get them to start from themselves.